the way the game has gone, certainly the last 5, 6, 7 years, but probably even more than that. The Yankees are going to get to the World Series based on their sticks, Moose. Moose, by the way, is in for Sal. Not their arms, dude. If the Yankees are getting somewhere and they're doing something meaningful this season, the Yankees are going to blast their way with their bats.
I'd love to see it. I just don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I'm more of an old school kind of a baseball guy where you look at it where pitching still wins. And I think you have to put together a staff that's capable of shutting down good lineups. And there have been teams that have been outliers that have hit their way to a championship. First off, this team does not have the repertoire or the resume to be able to do it. Even a guy like Aaron Judge has never, raked a ton come October. Soto's the only guy that's really done it. DJ LeMahieu's done it, but DJ LeMahieu's hurt once again and has been a shell of himself for the last 3 years. So you look up and down this lineup, and I don't disagree that I think this Yankee lineup is going to be able to pound really bad pitching during the course of the regular season. I think they're going to generate a lot of runs. I think everyone that's into launch angle and hitting the ball over the fence, I don't disagree with any of that. But they were a pitcher short before Garrett Cole had the nerve issue and the edema in his pitching elbow. And now we know that he's going to be gone for at least probably the first 2 months, right? For argument's sake of the MLB regular season. Now you're looking at it, even when he does return, there's still a starter short. I don't know if I necessarily could wholeheartedly look at Carlos Rodon and say, yeah, you know what, BT? I wholeheartedly believe Rodon's going to be good enough to not dig himself into a hole after what we saw last year. Marcus Stroman's splits at Yankee Stadium are downright terrible, and we've already seen the combustible Marcus Stroman here with the Mets over in Queens. And then you get to the rest of them. Nestor Cortez, outlier, about a season and a half. He's been really good. Last year, it was a disaster. He's either hurt or down performance. And then you get to the uptick of Clark Schmidt. So, no, I don't think the rotation, I don't disagree that the bats are going to be good in the regular season. Do I think they're good enough to help this team win a World Series come October to overcome what I think is really subpar starting rotation? I do not.
So I look at it this way. Again, the modern game, not going back to 68 with Bob Gibson and the Tigers when they lower the mound and nobody's hitting, when starting, the Seavers and the Steve Carltons and those guys. Talking about 2024. And I think people who look at the game and see, it's hard to do it in real time because as things change, it's like seeing your child every day. Obviously, you don't see the growth every single day, but, say if a relative doesn't see him for 7-8 months, like, oh, look, Joey got so big. Oh, look, getting so big. That's what's happened with baseball. So you look at the game. Moose, I think that I'll tell you this. Forget about the starting stuff for a second. I think the two most important aspects of baseball at this point, got to hit, and you better have a good bullpen. Because if we can, Blake Snell's won 2 Cy Youngs, never gets to the 8th inning. The emphasis, and it's a talking point, but it's an old one. It doesn't apply anymore. Where are the aces throughout baseball? If this was a long time ago, and there were other teams that had even though the Braves never won as much as they should have, but at least going into a season, had 2-3 aces, I think I would feel you a little bit more. Where are the certified aces in baseball? One of the guys who was very good a year ago didn't even have a job in Jordan Montgomery. So I think if you can hit, if you can get into the other team's bullpen, you got a chance.
Well, but we're having two different arguments. We're talking about the evolution of starters and how the bullpen is kind of overseeing that. And that's really analytics, right? When you look at it, Tampa Bay and the Rays were ahead of the curve with that, where they minimize the impact of the starters, where the starters aren't going as deep into games, and then you're using spin rate and all the information that you're getting into the dugout in terms of trying to project when there's going to be a downturn of the performance within any given game of that starter. So that's a different argument than if starters play come October. And I always believe that, and this is not 1968, 1978, 1988, 1998, there's always a place for dominant starting pitchers. Why did Yoshinobu Yamamoto get $325 million in the offseason? Why did the Mets spend the money they did on Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander? Why did Garrett Cole get the kind of money that he got? Why did they give Carlos Rodon $162 million? Starters are always going to get paid. Now, you're going to look at it and say, well, Blake Snell only got 2 years, $62 million deal. Well, he's often been hurt. He's not gone out there and been healthy the entirety of his career. He's also a pitcher in his 30s, right? Yamamoto's a guy that's 25 years old. The Dodgers obviously look at it and say to themselves, yeah, you know what? We need dominant starting pitching. The Yankees went to $300 million on Yamamoto. The Mets went to $325 or $320 on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So there's still the place for dominant starting pitching and how it can help you win baseball games, even with the evolution of the bullpen and how it is used. But you bring it back full circle to this Yankees team this year, and there's no doubt this Yankee team, especially they have 2 of the top 5 hitters in the sport. Right? So you have to look at Judge and you look at Soto, 2 of the top 5 hitters in the sport. They are going to absolutely obliterate teams because of their presence in the lineup, right? And then everybody else trickled down from that. Rizzo, Stan, everybody else, BT, and you know that better than anybody else. But I look at the starters. I think the lineup can overcome the starting rotation in the regular season. If we're looking at October, the Yankees were in on Blake Snell for a reason. They were in on Blake Snell for a reason because, you know what, they looked at and said, we are a starter short, and now we have concerns about Garrett Cole. They've re-engaged Jordan Montgomery for a reason. If they wholeheartedly believed that their lineup was good enough to go out there and absolutely rake and just hit their way to a World Series title, they wouldn't have been on either one of those two guys.
Think about this.
They are.
But think about all the names you threw out. So Yamamoto, and I understand why aces are pursued because there's a dearth of them, but Yamamoto, great. Dodgers got him. He got shelled in the spring, got shelled his first start when it mattered. Garrett Cole, we love Garrett Cole, but Garrett Cole hasn't won anything, and, in a wild card game against the Red Sox, he got absolutely obliterated. You mentioned Verlander and Scherzer. Fantastic. The Mets went out and pursued a couple of aces. Great. Where did it get them? Yeah, there's always a place for aces, but there's pitchers that teams perceive to be aces or – I don't know. It's not that different from like the scouting combine. You need a quarterback. You fall in love with the off-platform throws, and you convince yourself this guy's the real deal, like the Jets did with Zach Will. Okay, it's going to happen again. It's already happening now.
Great pro day.
Oh God, listen, he's got a Hall of Fame pro day. Of course, that's all they gave us there.
Great in gym shorts.
Oh my goodness gracious! But I think when you need something, you tend to overinflate, who you're pursuing. And I don't know. I don't see 12, 13 amazing starting pitchers out there that are littering the landscape of baseball that make it seem like the Yankees are so far behind everybody else. I don't see that. And I also, it's not there. I'm not saying that there are really good pitchers, but, I mean, the best pitcher in baseball is on the Yankees. He's hurt now. Garrett Cole, I get that. Who else is out there that when you look at this Yankee team, if they are humming, and I'm going to assume that they are, on all cylinders in October, they can't touch? I don't think there's anybody out there.
Well, but do you look at this rotation right now as presently constituted? I'm down 1-0 in the series. I'm giving the ball to Carlos Rodon, and you have the utmost confidence that Rodon's going to give you a stellar start?
No.
Or that you're not going to be put behind the 8 ball and you're down 4-0 in the second inning?
No.
How about Marcus Stroman?
It's like I've got very little. Yeah, I gave you Schmidt.
Cortez.
I don't have a lot of confidence. I agree. I don't have confidence in that. I don't have confidence in that. But how many teams are trotting out 3 or 4 guys that are putting up zeros? That's my point. You come out, you hit, you do your job. If Judge performs the way Judge is supposed to perform, if Soto's the transcendent hitter that we all say that he is, well, do your job in October and make the life of everybody else in the lineup easier. And if that happens, the Yanks can beat anybody.
No, I'm not telling you that Judge and Soto are not brilliant, but Soto's done it. Judge has never done it.
For sure. Neither did A-Rod till 2009. I mean, you got to break through it. It takes time.
But A-Rod had a little help that year.
But he didn't have. But he didn't have Juan Soto next to him.
No, I'm not talking about Soto. I'm not talking about Soto.
The PEDs.
He had a little bit of help that year.
We'll get him some needles, whatever it takes. I don't care. Because they're going to have to hit their way there.
But I'll give A-Rod credit for 2009, right? And there's no doubt about it. But you look at Rizzo did in Chicago with the Cubs. Giancarlo Stanton, who's looked a little bit better as of late, trimmed down, but Giancarlo Stanton has become the guy that Yankee fans like to point to for a reason, right? Volpe had a good rookie year. He really did. They're flattening out his swing, right? Less reliant on launch angle, all well and good. Gleyber Torres contract year. You're looking at Verdugo. Finally, the lineup is a lot more balanced. Listen, I have a smile on my face every single day looking at this Yankee lineup and being able to watch Soto and Judge in that lineup. Hopefully they stay healthy for the better part when they're in the lineup together for, 162 games, whenever they're in the lineup, 150, 155 games, whatever it might be. Hopefully, cross the fingers. I just look at this rotation and I say to myself, no, it's not good enough. I look at it and say, do I trust those guys? Not that they need to be dominant Cy Young, firing up zeros with 12 strikeouts, do I have confidence that they're not going to melt on the mound? Like
So you don't even have the most basic baseline of confidence that they won't implode.
If you have Cole I trust. Even though Cole is a guy that, and how could you not? And he
of course.
has changed the narrative in New York City, which is very difficult to do about Garrett Cole, right? So is Edwin Diaz with the Mets. Very difficult to do in this marketplace. I don't have that confidence in Nestor Cortez. Do you have that confidence in Marcus Stroman? He's giddy as anything to be a Yankee, but we've seen Marcus Stroman, in Major League Baseball. And I don't know what you're going to get from Carlos Rodon. It's great that he's trimmed down. It's great that he trimmed the mustache. He got lit up at his last spring training start. But the other aspect with Rodon is last year, it got revealed that he's got a back issue that's not going to go away. So what is Carlos Rodon going to be for the entirety of this season? Is he going to be able to make 30-plus starts? And then come October, is he going to be that dominant? He should have been embarrassed by the way that he pitched last year. But Kai, right now, sitting here in March, BT, and say to myself, yeah, I completely trust Carlos Rodon to be that caliber of a starter.
Yeah.
I can't tell you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't push back too much on that. I just think that they're going to be in a spot where. And by the way, if not, then, I mean, this has a chance. And we'll get to these calls here coming up. BT and Sound on the Fan, 877-337-6666. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio, friends at Town Fair. Remind you that you always get the guarantee lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire, nobody. This has a chance, Moose, to be either one of the most amazing Yankee seasons in a long time or one of the most combustible, I'll give you this, one of the most combustible, disjointed, possibly disappointing seasons, certainly this century.
More than
it's going to be
82 and 80 last year?
Yeah, because they didn't have Juan Soto last year, because Aaron Judge ran into a wall in Dodger Stadium, because Rizzo got concussed with his elbow, when he got smashed by Tatis.
Yeah.
Trevino got hurt. I mean, he missed all. Yes. The answer is yes. Volpe was a rookie. They had no left field. It was Hicks. It was Gallo. Yes. They had Bader, who couldn't do anything in center. Dominguez hadn't arrived on the scene yet. Yes, by a wide margin.
Yeah, see,
Really?
No, I don't know if I necessarily. I think the Yankees are going to win in the regular season. I think they're going to win baseball games. If it all falls apart, then yes. I mean, if you're going to look at it as half glass empty and say, it just doesn't work, well, then, you know what? It's going to be even more embarrassing than the 82 and 80 last year for everything that you just mentioned. I don't think it's ever going to get to that point. I don't think you're ever going to get to the conversation. I know a lot of Met fans bring up, well, Soto's going to leave following the season. I don't care as a Yankee fan. If Steve Cohen gives him $550 million, so be it. Soto goes out there and does his job, and the Yankees are able to win come October, and they're able to strengthen this rotation and make this team that much more dynamic come October and finally win a World Series for the first time since 2009, and he decides to leave in free agency. BT, I've made the argument all along. Soto's done his job. If the Yankees decide not to pay him, I'm not projecting or looking ahead. I'm trying to enjoy the moment right now. I think the Yankee lineup is going to be really good. Where you and I disagree is I don't think this lineup can make up for the deficiency of the rotation with a healthy Garrett Cole come October. They're a starter short. Now they're 2 starters short to begin the year.
All right, let's get to you. 877-337-6666. Frank's in Syosset, BT and Sound on the Fan. Frank, what's going on, buddy? Hello, Frank.
I've loved the both of you. I've talked to both of you a lot of times over the years. BT, I got to go with Mark. There's only one way, in my opinion, that your view is going to become a reality.
Okay.
And that's putting your sluggers in the 3rd and 4th slot and call it old school. But Mark had a big thing yesterday about analytics, and I spoke to Mark, and you got to put your sluggers in the 3rd and 4th slot, and you got to have table setters, and it's about RBIs. It's not a 2-man lineup, BT. It's a 7-man lineup.
Well,
2 guys are not going to overcome an opposing team's pitching staff.
No kidding, Frank. You think I woke up yesterday?
No.
Come on. That's obvious.
Well,
I
not
woke up the
everybody
day
agrees
before.
with that. Everybody wants to put them in the 2nd slot, BT.
Yeah.
They want to put Judge in the 2nd slot.
Yeah.
He belongs in the 3rd.
He's gonna hit 3rd. Soto's gonna hit. What are you talking about? It's already been said. Soto's hitting 2nd.
Then Soto's got to be 4th.
No. Yeah, but Frank, all right, fantastic. I appreciate the call there, but it's not the point. Now, the analytics behind all this, and, you take a number, you can kind of manipulate it any way you want. And I'm a proponent. I dive into these analytics. I I go deep on this stuff, which one of the reasons why I'm very bullish on Severino, because the numbers last year, I know I'm kind of jumping to the Mets for a sec, but Severino's numbers a year ago in terms of, his usage rate and his velo and pitch reliance, everything was there. He was just tipping pitches. I actually think he's going to be really good, and part of that is fueled by the reliance of analytics. But it really, when you talk about getting your number 2 hitter up there and your number 3 hitter up there with more frequency, I don't know how you dispel that. I mean, Soto 2, Judge 3. Yeah, it's not like Reggie and Munson or Mattingly and Winfield. I know it's different, but I got no problem with it. Do you?
No, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I mean, I do have an issue with, the overuse of stats and analytics. And I think it can tell you whatever way you want to, whatever you want to see. I think the stats will show you. I think, Torrey said a while ago when he wrote his book, when he left the Yankees, they reminded Brian Cashman, there's a heartbeat to the game. You got to understand that as well. Like, there's got to be a balance between the two. I think you can overwhelm lineups with information. We've seen that before. You saw that with the Mets. You've seen that with the Yankees. You saw it last year with the Yankees. That's why they got rid of their hitting coach and brought in Sean Casey, because they were overwhelming people with information. I mean, BT, you know this better than anybody. I mean, we're talking about, high-level, high-caliber athletes, right? The game slows down, but they're able to play at a really quick pace, right? Speed kills. Mm-hmm. The last thing you want to do is to start to slow down an athlete and having him think or her think a little bit too much instead of just reacting. Give them the information that they need, but you never want that athlete to be able to slow down, because you know what? The speed and the way that they're able to decipher information and still play at a very, very quick rate is what makes them elite level players. But I think you've seen at times in Major League Baseball where they inundate their players with information.
Then
they're up at the plate and they're thinking instead of just reacting and playing the game that they're brilliant at.
I think that's very important now to use us as anything that remotely, approaches the greatness of pro athletes would be ridiculous. But you and I have been on the golf course before together. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
But we have played golf together.
We played Maple Moor in Westchester. I think that's the last time.
Remember my back was killing me?
Your back was killing you. We walked off the course. We had slow players in front of us. BT on 60 was like, I got to go.
I wound up having back surgery shortly after that. I do remember that. It was a beautiful sunny day.
You were hitting lefty?
Yeah. But imagine, playing golf. You're standing over a ball. You're having a rough day. All right, my grip. Well, let me do this. Let me get the shoulder here. Let me get the leg. You're processing 9 or 10 different things while people are watching you play. There's no way you can hit a ball straight. Whereas if, you take a swig of beer, you grip it, you take a swing, chances are it's going to probably go in the vicinity of the target. They do clutter their minds. I can't stand it, but I am very curious what happens. And you mentioned this before, the flattening out of Volpe's swing. Like, that is something, once he gets past the process, he's probably already there, of thinking about what he's trying to do. That's a player who's going to go from 209 to 260-ish like that.
BT, contact matters.
Ugh.
Like, hitting the ball matters. Like, it really does. This whole idea of the 3 outcomes and, we're going to look at OPS and whatever. Like, there's still something to be said for batting average. I understand it's not where it once was, right? When you and I were a lot younger, right? And we didn't have kids, and we were looking at the back of the baseball card, and you looked at good players. You said, wow, he hit 280, 285. Like, the drop-off in batting average in Major League Baseball is astonishing. And I do think making contact and being able to hit to all fields is relevant still in today's day and age of Major League Baseball. I got so tired of hearing about launch angle and trying to hit the ball over the fence, but that had everything to do with velocity and the way bullpens are being used. So, teams are going to react to that. But average matters, and I think Volpe's average is going to go up with them reworking his swing.
Yeah, and the point is, we'll get to these calls coming up more. I do think that the average and all the other things that we measure hitters by will be good enough and strong enough for the Yankees where they will be able to swing their way to a World Series. And obviously, there's issues at the staff. Moose thinks it's going to derail it. I don't as much. 877-337-6666. BT and Sal on the Fan on a Monday.